You told your vendors 60-40. Every vendor already in your account is sitting at 50. Here's the screen that fixes that, and the one number on it you should read before you touch anything. Start with the part people get wrong. You set these terms. Your vendors don't approve them, they don't sign anything, and nothing gets sent to anyone when you save. This is your side of the deal, written down. Two different relationships live on this screen, and keeping them straight is most of the battle. Wholesale is product you bought outright. You own it, you owe for it. This is how long you take to pay, and it sets the due date on every bill. Consignment is the other one. The product sits on your shelf, but it isn't yours, and you owe nothing until a customer buys it. Payment terms belong to the first relationship. The split belongs to the second. They never mix. This box is blunt on purpose. Tick it, and every vendor you already have moves to net 15, including a vendor you deliberately put on something else. It also moves the due date on every bill that's still open. Useful when you're setting up. Read it twice after that. The split is the vendor's share of what each unit actually rings up for, not the list price, what it really sold for. So when you discount something at the register, they've already shared that with you automatically through the split. There's no separate markdown to settle up on later. 60 to them, 40 to you, on everything that sells. Now the important part. Before you change anything, this sentence tells you exactly what would happen, counted from your real vendor list, not a guess. One vendor is still sitting on your old default and would move to 60. The other 6 stay exactly as they are. So this box is safe in a way the one on the last page isn't. It only touches vendors still on your default. 4 of those 6 have a split you set for them specifically, and a deal you negotiated is never overwritten. And you don't have to take its word for it. Open the list and every vendor that would move is named. If you see somebody in there you didn't expect, that's your signal to stop. The last 2 are held back for a different reason, and it's the one worth knowing. They each have a payout sitting in your approval queue, calculated at the old split. Repricing them underneath it would leave you approving a number the terms no longer justify. So it refuses, tells you who, and tells you why. Approve those payouts first, then change those 2 on their own pages. Which is the whole idea here. What you just picked is a starting point, not a rule. Any single vendor can have their own split and their own terms, and that lives on the vendor, not on this screen. One more thing before it writes anything. It reads back exactly what saving does. Wholesale bills at net 15, vendors get 60%, and one vendor moves. If that last line says something you didn't intend, go back. Saving does 3 things at once. It sets the terms every new vendor will start on from now on. It applies the 2 pushes you ticked, and it records that you've confirmed your terms, which is one of the setup steps on your dashboard, and the reason this screen exists at all. Nothing goes out to a vendor, no email, no notification, no approval request. And it tells you what actually happened, in plain numbers. One vendor moved to 60%, and every vendor is now on net 15. Now the exception. Say Verdant Hill negotiated something different from everyone else. Open them from your vendor list. Everything about this one relationship lives on this page. What you've received, what you've paid them, and at the very end, the terms. Settings is the last tab on their page, and everything you just set shows up here as a starting value you're free to override. Their payment terms say net 15 because the blunt box you ticked 2 steps ago reached this vendor too. Change it here, and only this vendor changes. And their consignment split right below it. 50-50 a minute ago, 60-40 now. This is the one vendor the push actually moved. Give this one 65. Nothing on this card asks the vendor to agree to it, and nothing on it touches anybody else's split. Saved. No proposal, no waiting, no vendor sign-off. It applies to their next settlement. Your default is still 60 and nobody else moved. That's the whole shape of it. Set the deal you use with most of your vendors once. Then make the exceptions one vendor at a time on the vendor.